Hello, I'm Edward October. Over the years, I've narrated more ghost stories, horror shows, and creepypastas than I can count. And yet, the crimes discussed on our true crime podcast managed to scare the shit out of me. This program is not suitable for children or the faint of heart. If you are such a person, go ahead and switch off this podcast. Listen to something else. Are you still with us? Well, we've warned you.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Cam, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty darn well today.
Awesome.
And yourself?
I'm doing well also. Weather's getting so nice, and I'm so excited to do it.
I like it.
I
like it.
It's 90. It can stop. It doesn't have to get any hotter. But anyway, we got a lot to discuss today, don't we?
Yes, we do. Let's start with the case first.
All right.
And then we'll go in our separate ways.
All right.
Yep. Today, we are going to Harrington, Delaware, where 41-year-old Charles Holden is returning home from work just after 1 a.m. Pulling up to his home, he notices a man lurking outside, peeking in the windows. Charles's trailer home was on the same property that he shared with his mother, and Charles was obviously worried about her safety as well as his own. So he left the scene and he went to a payphone to call police. Charles explained to the dispatcher that he was fearful the man was trying to break into his home or his mother's home, and he was worried since his mom lived alone. Charles went back to the location to wait for police. Corporal Myrna Williams Kinney of the Delaware State Police arrived, walked around the house, and discovered a window on the back of the home had been shattered. Charles's heart sank as he worried about his elderly mother. Once inside the home, they make their way to Dorothy's bedroom, where they made a horrific discovery. Dorothy's lifeless body, bearing over 24 stab wounds to her face, arms, and chest, lay in front of them. Investigators estimated her time of death to be right around 1 a.m. Now, despite the gruesome scene, her purse remained undisturbed, and there were no signs of theft or sexual assault. Since nothing was missing and Dorothy had not been sexually assaulted, this led the police to rule out robbery and sexual assault as possible reasons for the brutal attack. However, to police, the crime seemed personal. It was just too brutal.
Well, to her face, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely personal.
This was not a stranger-on-stranger crime, they believed. The perpetrator was angry, and he took it out on Dorothy. While on scene, Dorothy's son Charles, the one that called police, made an ominous comment to police. "I can't believe he killed her." So police at this point obviously are wondering who he is, and they're starting to wonder if Charles is the who that would be responsible for this crime. Police sit down to interview Charles, and boy, do they get a rather unbelievable tale from him. Charles tells them that he knows the person who killed his mother. Well, sort of, that is. Charles explains that it was just after midnight on Sunday, June 23rd, 1991, when Charles stopped by a local fast food restaurant at the intersection of U.S. Highway 13 and State Highway 14 in Harrington. He was hungry, just needed a little snack. He had completed his shift work at a nearby place that he worked. Now, after receiving his food, he got into his vehicle ready to go home. As he was getting ready to pull out, he noticed a man standing beside his vehicle. The stranger asked Charles if he could get a ride, but Charles hesitated since it was late and, well, you really shouldn't give strangers a ride. I think we all know that. However, the man explained that his sister had just given birth and he desperately needed to get to the hospital to see her. Now, Charles really did not want to give the man a ride, but he finally did agree. I think he kind of felt sorry for him. Harrington is not a large place, and Charles told him that he could only take him a little bit down the road. The man got in the car, and when Charles got to the exit, which would take him home, he told the man that he needed to get out of the car and this was the last stop. The man was simply not having it. and he started to shout at Charles that he would not get out of the car. I would be panicking at this point. Charles explained that this is all the further he was going to go. The stranger then punched Charles in the face, saying he wanted all his money and the keys to his truck. Charles managed to jump out of the car with his keys in hand. When the hitchhiker realized this, he jumped out and started to chase Charles. Charles sprinted to a nearby business called Blake's Garage, desperately seeking assistance. Frantically, he pounded on the windows, but to his dismay, no one answered. Meanwhile, the stranger is coming up and he's approaching Charles with a screwdriver in hand.
Oh.
He tells Charles, "I'm going to kill you." Once more, he demanded the truck from Charles. Pretty smart. To defuse the situation, Charles agreed and was hoping that the man would calm down and said, "You know what? I'll take you wherever you need to go." See, Charles had devised a little plan in his head. I don't know how people think this fast, but I'm here for it. As they went back towards the truck, he seized the moment. Charles jumped into the driver's seat and he sped away before the man could react.
Good for him. Mm-hmm.
So he drove away from his home because he actually took the road in the opposite direction because he didn't want the man to see which way he went. He was kind of scared that the man would follow him home. Now, when Charles was sure that he was in the clear, that the guy was nowhere around, he turned around and headed back to his trailer home. However, upon arriving at his driveway, a chilling sight awaited him. That same man was standing in Charles's yard, peeking through the windows of his home. Charles, that I mentioned earlier, shared this family farm. It was 163 acres with his 70-year-old mother, Dorothy Donovan. Charles returned to that fast food restaurant to use the payphone to contact police, and it's now about 1:19 a.m. Following the call, he attempted to call his mom, but the calls went unanswered. Approximately 2 hours later, at 3 a.m., see the time difference there? 3 a.m., Corporal Myrna Williams Kinney of the Delaware State Police arrived at the payphone and engaged with Charles about what was going on. So Charles told the corporal the story, and he said that the man had been lurking at both his and his mom's house. The two of them, they go back to the property, and this is where she begins to, investigate and see what's going on. You might point out that time difference there between 1:19 and calling the police and the police not arriving till 3 a.m. The police kind of believed that this was just not a very dangerous, like it was a low
priority.
Yes, there you go. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah, they just didn't believe it was, it was just somebody outside, no big deal. As we all
somebody
know,
outside looking in your windows, that's no big deal, right?
In a small town, too. As we all know too well, often a loved one is the one responsible for a relative's death. Police were not buying this weird story from Charles. Detective Gregory Nolt of the Delaware State Police told Charles, I'm not buying this narrative. And you know what? I don't believe your side of the story because, frankly, it's just simply implausible. And it is a little strange.
It's out of the ordinary, right?
It's, the mysterious stranger. We all know that.
Stranger things have happened, though.
It is. To believe that the hitchhiker was the killer, the man would have had to walk a half a mile to the property. And it's not a straight stretch. He would actually have to make a turn and choose to go left or right. Not only that, but the man would have encountered plenty of other houses along the way. So why would the killer pass up all those houses just to end up at Charles and Dorothy's place? This is what police are thinking, of course. Investigators had learned that Dorothy had recently gotten an accidental death life insurance policy, naming Charles as the beneficiary. Now, that's interesting, but when Charles was asked to take a polygraph exam, he flat out refused. Nope, he is not taking one. At this point, things aren't looking too good for Charles, but lucky for him, the investigation is going to take a turn. As the investigators moved forward, police began to uncover evidence that really would dispel some of the beliefs that Charles was responsible for the crime. Witnesses at the fast food restaurant came forward and reported that there was, in fact, a suspicious man and that man had also solicited them for a ride. A few even recalled seeing the stranger entering Charles's truck. Yet others observed that same man, that stranger, walking near Charles and Dorothy's residences, But they had even seen that man knocking on people's doors before getting to Charles and Dorothy's house. After taking all this into consideration, they're still looking at Charles because that makes the most sense because, frankly, we've heard this and seen it all too often. Physical injuries sustained by Charles, such as some facial injuries, were consistent with a scuffle. There were burns on his wrist from a spilled coffee. He had spilled some coffee because with that little hamburger, he got some coffee. It was hot. When he got in that tussle with the killer or the perpetrator or the hitchhiker or the stranger, whatever you want to call him, he did spill the coffee on him. So all of this is sort of lending to the fact that, okay, so Charles maybe did not kill his mother. The biggest piece of evidence they recovered would definitively prove that Charles was not the killer. On the staircase banister, they recovered a bloody handprint. When they ran the print, as well as the blood type, against Charles, it proved that Charles was not responsible for the death of his mother. But maybe, just maybe, he didn't kill her, but he hired someone to do it.
Like many people, I have trouble sleeping, which has really become a problem. I mean, I have no energy during the day, and by 2 p.m., all I want is my bed. And it's not just me, it's a widespread issue. Studies show that almost half of Americans struggle with getting quality sleep, particularly as they age. But I've discovered something that offers a unique solution. It's called sleep cream. It's not an over-the-counter drug or prescription, but it's a cream that you use at bedtime. Sleep cream is infused with all-natural CBD, which is the key ingredient that allows your body to get what it's craving, which is a restful night's sleep.
Using sleep cream is a breeze. Its CBD reacts with the skin's nerve receptors, helping your body relax and do what it's supposed to do when it's supposed to do it. And because there's no THC in sleep cream, it won't cause a high and it won't trigger a failed drug test. Sleep cream uses organic oils and plant extracts. All you have to do is put it on at bedtime and you will experience almost unbelievable results.
I've been using the sleep cream since they sent it to me sometime last week, and I've got to be honest, I didn't think it was going to work. But I'll tell you, I'm pleasantly surprised. All you have to do, I put some of the cream on my feet and the neck as directed, and no joke, in about 15 minutes, I had trouble keeping my eyes open. And I sleep like a baby every time I use it. I don't even have that hangover feeling in the morning like you get with some of the over-counter sleep aids. And I got to tell you, Cam, I laugh when the sleep app that I use congratulated me on improving my sleep rhythm by 77%. You got to try it for yourself.
To order your bottle, go to sleepcream.com. That's sleepcream, CREME.com. The company has said that if you go to sleepcream.com and order a bottle and you don't experience better sleep, they will totally refund your money. Simple as that. So what do you have to lose? Except another night of amazing rest. Order your bottle at sleepcream, that's CREME.com today.
You're going to love it.
The hunt is on for the person who killed Dorothy Donovan. Charles was asked to provide a description and responded that the person was a black male in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. He was somewhere around 5'8" or 5'9", pretty slender build, guessing it to be around 150 pounds. One thing, or rather two things, stuck out. He said that the man had a pock-marked complexion, and he had these really large plastic-framed glasses, like very oversized. So those were some distinguishing things that stood out to him. He wore brown dress pants and a brown plaid shirt. And after witnesses answered with the same description, police were able to draw up a composite sketch of the man. So they are all seeing the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Police took photos of local criminals who resembled the sketch, put them all together. Charles and some eyewitnesses were brought in and asked if anyone looked familiar, and if so, which one. They all pointed to the same photo. It was of 33-year-old Rich Mitchell, who had been arrested for forgery and petty theft. He did live in Harrington, but they discovered that the bloody palm print did not match him. Nope, it's not him. As a result, he was ruled out, and they returned to square one. This is where I have to say it's so important with eyewitness testimony, because often eyewitnesses get it wrong, right? They all pointed to this guy. Due to the violent nature of the crime, police are pretty sure that the perpetrator had to be high on some sort of drug. Back at the crime scene, investigators discovered yet another blood smear on the light switch, and that they think that the suspect probably sliced his hand when he smashed the back window to gain entrance to the home. A blood sample was taken and sent to the lab, confirming it did not belong to Charles. At this point, authorities are sure that Charles has to be involved somehow, but they need to prove it. Little did they know the case would go cold for many years.
Many years?
Many years. Yes, this happened in 1991.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's going to tell you know what was going on in 1991 versus what's going to be happening here in this year. That's right. Years go by, and here comes the CODIS system, the Combined DNA Index System. Now, I'm sure most of our listeners know this, but for those that don't or new, this is a computer software that enables different jurisdictions throughout the United States to search for forensic evidence as well as technology, putting it all together, the suspect's DNA profile, to find a match where the DNA had already been entered and associated with the name. Pretty simple.
Thank goodness. Seriously, that's an amazing thing that happened.
So here we go. In November 2005, a DNA match was made to Dorothy Donovan's killer. It came back to a man named Gilbert E. Cannon. And at this time, he's 41 years old, and he is a resident of Delmar, Maryland. At the time of the murder, Cannon was residing in Delaware. His criminal record in the state included convictions for robbery, theft, burglary, assault, among some other charges, too. Most telling, he had served 7 years in a Maryland prison for drugs, robbery, and a 1997 homicide. And here's where the good part comes in. Before he was released from prison for that crime, it was mandatory the state collected his DNA. Thank goodness. Also, going back and looking at pictures, he totally looks like the composite. Very, very similar. They just need to find Cannon, and that would not be the easiest of chores. On January 18th, 2006, police located Cannon at his girlfriend's home, where he was arrested and taken into custody. The home was only 40 miles from Dorothy's house. I cannot imagine that your killer is living that close to you for all those years.
40 miles? Yeah.
40 miles. All that time.
Nice little hour drive.
Cannon faced charges of first-degree murder, possession of a deadly weapon during a felony, and first-degree burglary. At first, Cannon denied any involvement in the crime. I didn't have anything to do with it. I don't know what you're talking about. He claimed he didn't kill anyone. He was not there. But oh, buddy, we know DNA, don't lie. Don't lie. And so when the detective said, listen, we have your blood type, we have your DNA, we have your palm print, we have your fingerprint, you're in trouble. Cannon caved, and he admitted to the murder of Dorothy Donovan. Cannon explained, quote, basically, I went out there. I mean, I don't know if it was the drugs or what, or whatever. I don't have any reason to lie about it now. I didn't have to say this.
What? Okay.
Cannon recounted that on that night of Dorothy's murder, he was under the influence of cocaine, and he was seeking more. He wanted more. He'd run out, and he needed more. It was here that he encountered Charles at the burger place and requested a ride to Georgetown. Charles said, I'll give you a ride, but only to where I'm going. I'm not taking you all the way to Georgetown. When Charles drops him off, Cannon becomes enraged, leading to the fight. And in the heat of the moment, Cannon grabbed a screwdriver from Charles's floorboard of the truck, and he began chasing Charles. Although Charles initially agreed to drive him, he ultimately drove away, abandoning Cannon at the scene. Cannon said, with no ride and nowhere to go, he left and he proceeded to walk along Killen Pond Road. As he passed several houses with porch lights on, he was searching for a place to rest that would be empty. He wanted a vacant house. So if the lights were on, he assumed they were home. Eventually, Cannon came upon Dorothy's house, which he claimed he thought was vacant. It had no lights on it, and it was an old farmhouse. It did look older. I could see how someone might think it's vacant.
But it was at night, right?
It was 1 in the morning.
So the lights are going to be off, right?
Yeah, but some people put their porch light on, and that's what was guiding him. If the house had a porch light on it, he would pass it by.
Okay.
Upon breaking in through the back door, he awakened her. Fearing that she could identify him, and in a drug-fueled rage, he viciously attacked and fatally stabbed her with the screwdriver he had retrieved from Charles's truck. Exiting the house in a panic, he left the bloody palm print on the banister and the fingerprint on the light switch. So this brings us up to when Charles returns home and notices Cannon lingering outside the residence. Now, Charles is convinced that Cannon has followed him home, or he is already aware of where he lives. So that's why he left, to go phone the police.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Cannon confirmed his selection of Dorothy's house on that fateful night was purely coincidental. He emphasized that he had no prior knowledge of her or Charles, and that, honestly, when the police told him during the interrogation that I watched, he's surprised. He really had no idea that that was Charles's mother. It really was just a freaky coincidence. Cannon also stated that he acted alone in all of the events that unfolded that night. On April 24th, 2007, he pleaded guilty to first-degree murder in the case and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is currently serving time at the James T. Vaughn Correctional Center in Delaware. And at this point, he's 59 years old today.
Wow.
What are the chances? And that's a half a mile with a lot of houses in between.
Mm-hmm.
And he just ended up there. So poor Charles, and there were some family issues. I didn't even put any of this in there, but his siblings had a hard time believing that he wasn't involved because sometimes it's just, you know what I mean?
When money comes into play, people get
and it just
odd.
Looks like, no way did you pick up a hitchhiker, get rid of the hitchhiker over half a mile away, and then you're telling me that hitchhiker accidentally found your mom's home and killed her?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a bit suspicious.
Oh, it's suspicious, all right. I mean, he really did do it. It was just drugs.
Yeah, Charles was
that's why he didn't want to take a lie detector, because he knew he didn't do it.
Right.
So that's the story of that. Just a little...
Very interesting, but I really hate that the fact that the police didn't think a man looking in somebody's windows at 1:30 in the morning wasn't that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's very bothersome.
Yeah, it's nearly 1:30 in the morning. That's never going to be good.
What's
no matter what they're
population
doing.
Of the town, do you know? It's farming community, so I'm thinking it's probably relatively small.
It's right around 4,000 people.
Yeah. Very small.
Yeah.
That even is more suspicious to me. I don't know. What do I know?
What do you know?
Interesting case.
I'm glad it got solved. I would hate to think that Charles would have died and his siblings believed, and the family and the community all believed that he did it, and he really didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just a crazy... If somebody else would have picked him up and taken him somewhere, maybe everything would have unfolded differently. Like, he would have been dropped off somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he was up to no good that night. He was looking for a house. He wanted to go to sleep. That's what he said. He was done. He was just wanted an empty, vacant house to get inside and rest because he was tired from coming down off the cocaine. There you have it. You been watching anything new?
Not really, but there's a bunch of stuff that I want to watch. I mean, there's a new season of Will Trent that I'm watching weekly. Mm-hmm. And there, of course, is a new season of Taskmaster, which I get to see every Friday, the day after. It's on YouTube. But basically, the only time I'm really watching TV is when I walk on the treadmill. So I need good hour episodes. But there are a few that I'm wanting to start to watch. What about you?
Oh, you know me, Jen.
Oh, I know. You're always watching the TV.
I got issues. What can I say?
You do.
So I just finished the season this morning, and it's called Unlocked, a Jail Experiment. You know, I love me some jail shows. And basically what it is they open up the jail to let just a section, not the whole thing, but they don't, instead of doing 23 in one, you know, the 23 lockdown, one out, they're out 24 if they want to. And basically the deputy and jail warden were kind of trying to see if the men could work it out, make it work. And so, yeah, that was interesting.
So prisoners are allowed to go free for 24 hours?
No. They're not locked in their cell. So they can have the rec room or whatever. Yeah, sorry about that.
So it's basically they're living in a dorm room instead of a prison.
Yes.
Okay.
And there were some issues, but it was just interesting. And I just...
Who'd have thought there'd be issues? Huh.
Drugs. Yeah, right?
Really?
I also
in
watched...
prison?
I know.
No way.
No. They weren't.
Say it ain't so.
No, okay, correction. They didn't do drugs in prison. They did make some hooch, as we know, and the ingredients. How anybody could stomach that, I don't even know. It's disgusting.
Desperate times call for desperate measures,
I guess. But the amount of men that were in there because they were addicted to drugs, and then they did things to get in there. It's just drugs are bad. I'm just saying, just terrible.
And drugs are very prevalent.
Yeah. I also watched What Jennifer Did, which I'm sure everybody's...
a lot. Jennifer does a lot.
Not you, Jennifer. Jennifer Pan. Jennifer Pan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say everything. That was pretty interesting. An easy watch, too. Another thing that I like besides my jail shows, I love me a good prison show, is interrogations. Love me some interrogations. And so that little documentary is full of her doing that. And it's something, let me tell you.
Some of the shows that I want to watch are on Apple. Mm-hmm. There's a new Steve Martin documentary, and I've loved Steve Martin ever since I was little, when the Christmas where my brother got the 8-track of Wild and Crazy Guy, and I used to sneak into his room and listen to it. So I want to watch that. There's also a new series called Palm Royale.
Yeah, I want to see that too.
With Allison Janney, who I absolutely love.
I love her.
And Kristen Wiig. And of course, the Livin' La Vida Loca, Ricky Martin is in it. Laura Dern is too. There's also something called the Big Door Prize.
Oh. Mm-hmm. What's that about?
It's about, of course, you asked me that. It's like a big mysterious machine appears, and it just promises to reveal people's potential. It's kind of like sci-fi-ish kind of thing.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, it's on Apple. It's going on its second season, and it's gotten really good. Or it's gotten good reviews. Another one that I started watching occasionally, it's very Monty Python-esque, which I've always kind of liked Monty Python. It's also on Apple, and it's called The Completely Made-Up Adventures of Dick Turpin.
Oh.
And it's with Noah Fielding. Is that his name? He's the dark-headed guy on British Bake Off. And I believe he was also We Were Always in the Shadows. I think he was in that one, too. Yeah.
Look at you little fan.
I know.
Fangirl.
Well, I don't watch it because of him. He gets on my nerves at British Bake Off, but I do love me some British Bake Off. But those are like the main shows that I've been really wanting to watch. There's also the documentary on Brittany Melville called Brittany Hellville. And it's my youngest daughter loves, or used to, still does, loves the Brandy, I think it is. Did I say Brandy?
You said Brittany.
Yeah, it's Brandy Melville. It seems that they are almost as bad as Abercrombie and Fitch, I believe.
Oh.
Kind of. Like they would make, when the young girls go in to work, they would take pictures of their outfits and send them to corporate. And if corporate didn't like their outfits, they were fired. And you have to remember that Brandy Melville's clothes only go up to like a size 6 in
so
US. So it's like extra
size.
small and small. Yeah. So you have to be twigs. And Brandy Melville is actually an old Italian man.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Who would have thought that? Who would have thought it was an old man?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. It's supposed to be very interesting. I'd like to watch it with my daughter, but she's at the age where she doesn't even want to be in the same room with me unless I'm buying her stuff. So
same girl, same. With you, I mean. Yeah. I did watch the second season of White Lotus, which I loved it.
White Lotus is good.
Yeah,
well, you gotta love Jennifer Coolidge. Yes, Stifler's mom,
Aubrey Plaza, who I love. I think she's just adorable.
Oh, she is adorable
and funny.
Mm-hmm. Still, I want to get to the theater. I've got to go see. Well, I don't have to, but my husband's forcing me to go see the new Godzilla and King Kong movie. We're going to go do that. I'd like to see the Ghostbusters movie because I did like the last one that was out. It was cute. But other than that, I can't really even tell you what's on at the movie show.
At the movie theater?
At the movie theater? I have no idea. Do you?
No. I mean, I haven't been to the movies. I can't even tell you. Well, okay, that's a lie. I did just recently go, like in January. But before that, it had been years.
Yeah, so. But you only saw like a repeat of a movie. Like you didn't even see a new
Yeah, it was a Christmas Story. Yeah. So, Yeah. Well, I guess it was before Christmas. But
TV
anyway.
is taking over life.
Hey, Jen, do you want to tell everybody? Like, I know that they don't know this already, but do you want to tell them what we're doing? Not this June, but next June, 2025.
Well, I know that if you listen to us, you know that we are going over to the UK and we are hosting a dark history tour where we start off in Edinburgh and then we go to York and then we go to London and we're going to do all things kind of ghosty, all things dark history. And, those are like some of the oldest towns, cities, like ever, right? We're going to go there, but people might not know. We only have a few spots left.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're closing this all off. But it's going to be a blast. We have a lot of fun and interesting people going with us. One of them is even coming to celebrate a big milestone birthday. We've got 3 people flying in from Australia to come with us. It's kind of a big deal. And we need you guys to come with us.
We would like you to come with us, very much so. And if you're fearful that you'd be by yourself, fear not, because we're all going to be a busload of besties. The busload of besties. B.O.B., right?
Yeah, nobody's going to feel alone, trust me.
No, not at all.
No.
And we already have one thing in common. Us.
Exactly. And you guys, the package includes a lot when you come. I mean, you get your flight. There's 8 nights of hand-picked hotels that are nice hotels. We're not going to stay in hostels or anything like that. You get breakfast daily. There's going to be 2 different dinners with beer or wine, whatever you want. There's going to be 7 sightseeing tours that you're paying for included in this package. You're going to get a tour director. There's local guides. We're going to be traveling in a deluxe motor coach,
No school bus for us.
Right. Mm-mm. We're going to go see the Royal Mile, the Edinburgh Castle. There's a ghost tour in Edinburgh. There's a walking ghost tour of York. There's the York Minster. Buckingham Palace we're going to go see. Hampton Court Palace ghost tour. We're going to go see the Tower of London. Amazing. And all the ravens that guard the Queen's jewels. There's also a murder mystery farewell dinner. That's going to be fun within itself.
We are going to have a blast. I promise you that.
That's a lot to do.
It is a lot. And you get free time too. You do have some downtime, free time to do things on your own or maybe just rest up. Maybe you're
there's
tired.
Also, we asked for like one day to just do whatever we want to do. And in some days, there's actually little excursions that you can purchase to do that too. Yeah, like you can go to Whitby Island. I mean, it's a great opportunity for those of you who don't have, like me, my husband hates to fly. I would definitely do this, right? Well, I am doing this, but you know what I'm saying. This is a great reason to go. You already have friends. You might not have met us in person, but you know us through here, and there's really no difference between what you hear here.
And let me just say, not to brag on ourselves, but I will. And nobody else has done this yet. We created this thing from scratch. Like we said, we want to do this. We looked for a company that would put it together for us. So this is totally unique. Nobody's done it yet. I bet.
Yeah, we called a bunch of different tour places and said, what do you have? And they gave us a tour. And I'm like, okay, but this is what we want to do. And I had even some tours. I gave them the tours that we wanted to do and they booked them. Some of these tours weren't even in their wheelhouse before they talked to us. It's really a unique tour.
Yes, it is. And you guys, it's going to be super fun. And you're going to get FOMO when you see us posting pictures with all of our new besties. And it could be you. You could be there too.
So anyway, if you want, you can find information and links on our blog or website, I guess, at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Or you could just email me at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com and I will send you all the links and I'll talk to you about it and do answer whatever I know. And if not, I can get somebody that does know what they're talking about to give you a call back.
Yes. And,
so anyway, but that's it. We only have a few seats left.
June 13th through June 22nd, 2025. Not this June, but next June.
Right. So that gives you time to save up and get ready to go and make sure you get your passports all taken care of and up to date and all that kind of good stuff. It's going to be fun. We'd love you to come be with us. So anyway, but that's it. That's all I got.
Well, Jen, as always, it's been a pleasure. Some days it's more pleasurable than others. Today was pretty pleasurable, I'll tell you. So until next time, remember, lock your doors.
And keep passing by those open windows.
Bye-bye.
Love ya.
Today's episode was researched and written by me, Cam. For more information about this episode, as well as all the sources I used, please check out our show notes or the podcast website at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Our True Crime Podcast is developed and created by hosts Jen and Cam. Original music and audio mix of all our True Crime Podcast episodes is courtesy of Nico Vertesi from We Talk of Dreams. Listener discretion is provided by Edward October from October Pod VHS. Our True Crime Podcast is executive produced by Nico Vertesi and Dick Vane. Make sure to like and subscribe to Our True Crime Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. We can be reached on Instagram and Facebook at Our True Crime Podcast or on Twitter at Our True Crime Pod. You can email us at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com. If you really like the show, make sure to check out our Patreon at Our True Crime Podcast. Our True Crime Podcast is an OTC production.